Yeah, I'm going to do a short video here on how to retrofit some mood lighting to an e30 or any other type BMW or whatever kind of vehicle you want to do it with. I'm going to use this here assembly from an e46 3 Series, and I'm going to take it apart and use the mood lighting out of the middle here. I'm going to unsolder it and use everything that's here to wire it into my factory rear view mirror. So I'll show you how to do that here. First of all, we want to take this assembly apart. There's just some clips on each side. It's real easy to get apart just using a screwdriver. I already kind of took it apart here. You also want to take out these bulbs because you're not going to be needing those. So pop this all apart. Easy does it. Take it apart here. First thing I did was plug the wiring harness in here and figured out which prong each one did. So I found out there's a positive and negative, obviously, that run these mood lights. This one right here on this side, this ended up being the positive side. It runs right to this fourth terminal here, and it runs through the light across this bar here to this side, through here, and then there's a little resistor that's actually built in that you're going to need. If you put 12 volts to these, they'll just blow up. So you want to use this resistor in line with what you're doing. You run positive in here, runs up through the light, across, up through that light, into this resistor, and then you're just going to have negative on the other side of the resistor. So however you do that, I got to take this apart. I'm going to unsolder these joints, take these bulbs out. I'm going to unsolder this resistor, take it out. I'm going to use all this. I'm just going to put a simple wire in between this and this to connect these two, and that's all. I won't be using anything except for the bulbs, the two bulbs, and this resistor here, and that's all we are really going to need from this whole assembly. So we're going to start there. We'll unsolder this. Okay, so we're going to unsolder this, and they do make something called a desoldering iron. I don't have one, and I don't care to have one. I just do a simple technique with pressurized air. You can use a can pressurized air like duster or an air compressor to do this. Okay, so all you do, just pick a joint, heat it up. You see it's liquefied already. Just blow it right off. That one's gone. Heat up the next one. That one's gone. Gone. Let's see if I got it. These should all be desoldered now. Okay, got these. This one, oh no, it did come off. So we got those out of there, and we also need to get this resistor. I think I got this side desoldered. It just slips right out of there. So there's the easy way to desolder things. And we'll be on to the next step, which will be wiring these together and drilling holes in the rearview mirror to mount them. We'll be back in a second with that. Okay, I'm just going to take and show you here what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these little, I don't know why it's getting blurry. Anyway, these little holders for the bulbs. I am going to take a Dremel and I'm just going to cut along 3 sides here, here, and then on this side, and I'm going to cut around and make, just these little pieces come out. And that's how I'm going to mount the lights into the rear view mirror. I'm going to cut these out, stick the light bulb in there, and then drill the hole in my rear view mirror, and then I'll just put these straight up into the hole and then glue them in place with some epoxy or something similar. So I'm just going to cut these off. That one should be off. I need to cut a little bit more on this side. There we go. Okay, so that's off. And I'll do a little clean up around the edges of that so it fits nice. You can see it's just a little circle. And then the bulb will just go right in there. And that will hold the bulb in place in the mirror. So I'll go ahead and get the other one cut off, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I got these little round things cut off, these little holders. Here they are. There's one. There's one. They're going to work out pretty well. Now I'm going to drill the holes. Now what I did is I just matched this up with the same size drill bit that's the outside diameter. So this, I should be able to drill this hole, and this little plastic should just pop right into the hole. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to measure out 1 inch from this nighttime adjustment. So I'm going to measure 1 inch over this way from the middle, and then I'll measure 1 inch over this way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something sharp here. I'm just going to make a little indent because things don't show up very well on this plastic. So here I'm just measuring over 1 inch. Whoop. So there's 1 inch right there. And I'm just going to take and mark it with this little pointy thing. So I got a mark there. So I'll go over to this side, do the same thing. 1 inch from this opening. And I got a mark there now. So I've got a mark here and here. Now I'm just going to kind of pick a middle here. That one looks pretty good. This one needs to be up a little bit, I think. So right about here. Yeah, right about here. And then we're going to drill those out. Okay. Okay, there's one hole. We'll clean that up, maybe with a razor blade. And we've got another hole to make right here. Okay. Now that's where our lights are going to be. Oop. And then we're going to also make another hole on the back side right about in here. I'm just going to guess. That's where the wires are going to come out of the top. And they're going to run up this. They're going to come out right here. Then I'm just going to attach them to this and run up into the roof. So I'll move this out of the way. And then I'll make one hole right in the center there. Everything looks good there. Now I'll clean that up with a razor blade. Alright, we've got our holes drilled in the bottom here. And we've got our hole drilled behind the bracket. Now what we're going to do is we're going to feed the wire down through this upper hole here and bring it out these bottom holes. And we're going to leave the wire a little longer than what we need to get it in there. We can go either way, actually. We can go up through this way. Okay, so I'm ready to do some soldering. I changed up the design a little bit. Instead of having this hole, instead of having this hole in the middle here, there's actually two little plastic bars that run down the inside of this mirror that, of course, I didn't know about. This was all trial and error for me. So this hole I'm going to actually use as a little mounting point to keep all the wires together. I'll probably use some hot black glue to seal that up and to keep the wires all in one spot. And then I ended up drilling a hole over here and a hole over here, which was directly above the holes that I drilled on the bottom, so I could run the wires straight up through. And of course the crossover wire to connect one bulb to the other bulb, since there's those bars that go down inside of the mirror, I couldn't just loop it over and across like I wanted to. So again, I just ran a wire straight down through these holes and then crossed it over the back and down, and you won't be able to see any of that because of the way the mirror is mounted. I mean, you might be able to see a little tiny bit, but nothing that's going to bother me. I'm not going to care about having this little tiny wire run across there. Plus I'll have wire loom and everything in there, and I think it's going to be really unnoticeable. So what I did is I put my bulbs in the little holders here. I don't know why I'm not focusing in right on this. But anyway, here's the bulb in the holder. And what I did is I attached that, I soldered that resistor to the one side, which is going to be the negative side. It doesn't matter which side you solder it onto. But this is where the negative comes in, and the positive is going to be over here. So what I'm going to do is this short one is the crossover wire, which will be here. And then this one is going to be the ground wire, which comes out here. Then I marked this one as a power wire with just a piece of tape so I know which is power and which is ground. So first I'm going to solder this end of the resistor, and you have to also pay attention to how this resistor comes out. It's one directional, and so on this one it's got a blue stripe on one end and a brown stripe on the other end. And the brown striped end was the end that went to the light itself, other end went to the ground. So just make sure how you do that. I'm going to solder these on and I'll be right back. Okay, I got everything soldered. I put electrical tape over these connections to make sure they're not going to touch. I got the little bulb holders on here. Everything's soldered up. So again, this is going to be the negative, this is going to be positive. Now, I have the resistor in here. All I need to do is really push these up into place, pull these wires tight, and then it'll be ready to do the wiring inside the car. So let's push these up into place and see how they look, and then we'll test them. Pull this one, but not the other one. We want to keep this one in there as much as we can. Of course, we can tuck it back in. That's no big deal. Okay. Okay, I need a little something to help push it in. Okay. Got that one in place. Push this one through. Okay. Oop. Pulled it too much. Okay, now we got those in there. Now I'm going to check. Here's my battery for checking. So of course on top here it says positive, negative. We know that this one is negative, this one's positive. I taped it so I would know which one was which. And I'm also going to put a plug on here so if you ever need to take the mirror out, this won't be all hardwired in. You'll just have a plug. So the positive will go here. The negative goes here. And it doesn't work. Oh, I had it backwards. So there they are. They're lighting. So now all I need to do is stick this back in the car and figure out how to wire them to my headlight switch. And I'll be back with that in a minute. Okay, so I picked up power from the headlight switch. I ran a power wire down to this, looks like a gray with a white stripe. And it does not have dimming function, but I didn't really care about being able to dim it. So I just ran this wire from the switch straight up through the A pillar. I took all the covering off and ran it right up through here and through the header panel and right into the middle here. And I put two connections so I can just unplug them and pull them through whenever if I ever need to take this mirror off. And I took off the onboard little computer thing here. That way I had some access under here. So here is the mirror, and if you look underneath here, you can see the two little lights. I'll turn them on. So there they are. They shine pretty nice, and here's the wires going right up through. You can't even hardly see them. So I'm going to button everything up, and then I'll show you a picture in the dark of how they look. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but I wanted to try and show you what it looks like at night. I can't really see stuff. I guess you kind of can. So there's the gauge cluster, and you can see some light here. There are the lights shining down from the rearview mirror, and I don't know if you can tell, but I can really see that there's quite a bit of light down here. And as you can see, I can see my hand while I'm driving. It's a pretty nice look. I'm liking it. Of course, you don't have to do this just like I did, but you can kind of just use that as a guide. I just made it up as I went, so nothing about that whole process is, set in stone. Like I said, I just made it up. So good luck with your endeavors, and I hope you like my video. Thanks a lot. We'll see ya.